Hey, Miss Jessica. Miss America.
Hi, Miss English. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good afternoon.
Hey, Miss
Hey,
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Hey, Ms. Only, is this something new that we have here? The people talking wind up filling up the whole screen? Or how's that working?
I am not sure. That would be an IT question, I think.
Okay.
It might be just, Ms. Malinowski, the view that you have for your screen. So you can change the view to where it's speaker view or where it's a grid view and you see everyone at one time.
If you go up to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a view.
Okay, click on view.
Yeah, you can choose gallery view, and it shows everything.
Oh, okay. Wow, all the things you're teaching me here.
That's what we do, Mr. Malinowski. That's what we do.
There you go. Thank you, Administrator Brown. Appreciate that. I mean, to me, a computer used to be an electric typewriter. Anyway, I have 3:30 on the official county computer, so let's call the meeting to order for the Rules and Appointment Committee for April 6th, 2021. First order of business, which is item number 2 on our agenda, is approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Only, if you'll call the roll, and I didn't ask you to call the roll for the call to order, but we have, I see the committee members are here in Ms. Mackey, Ms. Barron, and myself.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. And I also see we have Miss English who's joined us as well from council. Next order of business is number 3, the adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for that, please.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion, any additions or deletions, Ms. Only? Mr. Brown?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. All right, hearing none, if you'll call for that vote, Ms. Only.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, interviews. We have the Community Relations Council. We have 4 individuals scheduled for interviews today. I saw Ms. Williams, Miranda Williams was already here. And I guess we'll need to do a breakout, and they're going to be done in that order as it listed on the agenda. Is that right, Ms. Only?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we need to go to the breakout room then?
Yes, sir. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll have y'all brought into the room.
Okay, and Ms. Williams, you'll make sure she gets there with us, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Allison. I'm just joining in a little bit late. Are they in executive session?
Miss Rhonda Williams? Is there, okay, hang on one second. Now I'm gonna have them take you over to the breakout room, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would the young lady who just joined the meeting a few moments ago identify yourself so we can properly name you on the Zoom meeting here?
This is Linda Grace.
Thank you.
She did say 3:50.
All right, Miss Only, I guess you're still gonna do something because I got a big old 8x10. Oh, there we go. Okay. Participant. Okay, we got everyone back plus all the others from staff. So the next item we have is number 5, items for actions, and we have boards, committees, and commissions recruitment. That actually is coupled with letter F, where it's got the descriptions of the boards, committees, and commissions and their duties. We wound up, I guess the action is that we're supposed to be doing is deciding how we're going to handle this to get rid of the backlog and move forward to stay on top of this in the future. And in our agenda on page 12, I made a note that in the minutes, right above the letter B, it's got suggestions I made based on the conversation that took place, because it says there, I summarize the discussion as follows. Number 1, we're going to get the vacancies out to as many organizations, groups, and whoever else we can as possible with the assistance of council members, Human Resources Department, the county administrator staff, and the Public Information Office. Number 2, we're going to spread the paid advertisements out as much as we can to get as much coverage there. And number 3, avail ourselves of as much free advertising as possible. And D, which would be 4, review the applications on a quarterly basis. So with all that being there, Miss Only, are you creating some type of a work plan or something to follow so that all council members can know exactly how we're going about to try to fill all these vacancies now and then applications as they come in the future once we're caught up?
I was actually going to wait until the new clerk gets here on Monday and she and I sit down and work through this. I have reached out to HR and they have been working with the employees here to apply for things. So I actually got a application today for somebody for the employee grievance. So it is a work in progress, but I didn't want to overstep my bounds with the new clerk coming in, and I wanted to try to work with her.
Okay, and one other thing that we should add to that, and that is, and that may come under the human resources or the PIO, but so that it's not overlooked, I think we need to use the website, the county website as well. Make sure that we don't overlook that, please.
Yes, sir. I have been placing the vacancies on the website, but I need to get probably with Beverly to put it on Twitter and our Facebook page.
Okay, well, if you could do that, please, over the next 2 weeks, even with the new clerk coming in, if kind of make that a priority for this committee anyway, to get with those that you can to begin getting some coverage of what we're looking for out there. That would be appreciated. I think not just by the committee, but the whole council. Going to letter F, which I do believe is coupled with this, where it's got the descriptions and duties. As I was looking at those, I see you've gotten a lot more information in than what we previously had. Many of them, though, and it's just, I think, terminology where it says qualifications to serve or qualifications required. With some exceptions, I don't believe that qualifications is what we should be putting in there. I think we maybe want to put like either recommended skills or preferred experience. I don't want somebody not to apply because they don't have one of these so-called qualifications. So I'd like to see wherever the term qualifications comes in, I'd like to see that changed. I'll take recommendations from anybody that's here on what they think is the best terminology to use. I know we have qualifications when it comes to some of the folks, like maybe the building codes board of appeals or somebody else, where you've got to have a plumber and you have to have an electrician and other things like that. That's fine. In that case, we need a qualification. But on the others, it's not really a qualification. So would anybody like to add their comments to that, please?
I agree. I mean, I think preferred skill set is a fine terminology to use as well, or desired skill set is fine, but I don't think it has to be a necessary qualification for them to apply.
Okay, and Ms. Oni, I can get with you afterward if you would like and point out the ones that I saw anyway.
Yes, sir.
And that'll shorten it for you. The other question I have on this building, I'm sorry, did anybody else have any comments you wanted to make on that?
Well, not on that one. I did have comments going back to the first portion where we were discussing recruitment.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I guess I want to be clear. So, Ms. Only, when you plan on meeting with the incoming clerk and working through this, are we at that time also developing a schedule as far as which groups we're interviewing next? So I know we're doing community relations council now, and we know our next meeting we have to finish up. But then after that, have you already identified we're going to interview all these folks so that we can get it done? Or is that part of the recruitment plan that you're going to discuss with the new incoming clerk?
I've already looked at the ones that have had vacancies for the longest that we did receive applications for. And I'll make sure that she knows which ones that we need to address next. I know that internal audit hasn't had anybody since like 2014. And then TPAC, we haven't had a quorum in a long while because 5 of ours just stopped showing up. 5 of the Richland County appointees just stopped showing up. So those are 2 that, we really need to put somebody in. And then HTAX, they've probably already had their meeting for this year, but we'll need to gear up for next year's budget. So that's also one that I've had on my list.
Okay, so after we get finished with Community Relations Council, then you're saying those 3 committees are the ones that you are recommending as needing to be filled next?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you through, Ms. Mackey?
And then just one other thing in the notes I had, we talked about doing a rolling, ongoing acceptance of applications, but then setting a quarterly date. And I just wanted to make sure that we establish what that looks like before we start the recruitment process or posting on the website, making sure we have those dates established on when our quarters end. And then also not sure if this is a possible or not, but is there a way you can check with the PIO office to see if there's an option to have an online application or a fillable form where folks can fill it out online and hit submit?
I can get with IT and make that available. The application is there, but it's not fillable as right now. But I can get with them and make that fillable.
Thank you.
Okay, that would be good. You're welcome. Ms. Barron, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. So Ms. Mackey hit a lot of my high points of some things, but I do want to just go back to the plan that we set forth as we prepare for our new clerk. I think that it would definitely, for this committee, would be extremely helpful to put a plan in or a suggested plan in place, as she's going to have to learn lots of committees and things of that nature. And so I'd like to see, us having something that when she sees rules and appointments, okay, this is the template. This is where we're working towards over the next, few months. I think Mr. Malinowski hit it on the head, with having a work plan for this particular committee. I'd like to recommend that we, as we prepare for her, that we put some things in motion to at least give her a springboard for the next month or so. And then to my next point with recruitment, like Ms. Mackey said, as far as the actual dates, knowing what our quarterly dates are, but if we are collecting applications ongoing, then therefore our recruitment must be ongoing, which means that, we had lots of conversation in our last meeting about our social media or lack thereof. So it is important that the PIO understands that as we have, our rolling messages about recycling and grease and all those other things, that our recruitment for our boards and commissions should be right alongside with those that we have every I guess they come out probably daily, because otherwise we are going to still be in the same spot at the end of the quarter. So we got to I really want us to be able to push that forward. And then to my last point, and that would be when we look at the overviews for each one of the committees, definitely some of them give a suggested time period that is expected, or they can look forward to being a part of this committee. You need to be, consider X amount of hours per month. I think consistency with that particular document is going to be extremely helpful for the reader, as well as those individuals who, like SC Will, we heard over and over in the interviews, that if there's consistency in that document across the board, no matter what organization, you still see that same information. It's going to help with those individuals who are helping us also recruit.
Okay, very good points, Ms. Olney. Did you get some notes, or if not, I guess you can go back and listen to the tape.
Yes, sir. I made notes.
Okay. Any other comments? I would like to just ask a couple of questions then while we're here. And there may not be answers yet, but at least I'll put it out there. And that would be on page, I think 71. On page 71, where it has qualifications for Building Codes Board of Appeals. On 1 through 5, the first word is registered, design professional with this and that. I think we need to be more specific. I mean, registered with who? Does it make any difference if it's within South Carolina, or what if somebody just recently transferred down here from Charlotte and they're registered with somebody up there? Or what type of a registration is required? I don't know. And maybe you could get with the building division and ask them if we could be a little more specific on that.
Yes, sir. I'll touch base with them.
Okay. And the other one on page 73, where it says the Township Auditorium, I'm a little bit questioning exactly what's going on here, because starting in this halfway through the second line where it says the board of directors shall not be less than 7 members and not more than 15, as determined by the board of directors members, by the board of directors. Members are appointed by Richland County Council or appointed by invitation from the board of directors. That being the case, the board of directors could fill all the positions and we would have no say or control whatsoever as to what's taking place there. So I don't know if this is something that they gave us, or it's in an ordinance or the rules. I'd like to have that looked at, because if we are the appointing agency or entity, as the full council is in most of these, then I don't see why the board of directors would have any authority in appointing individuals. The other one that I had concern with is the one right below it, the Historic Columbia Foundation, under the Board of Trustees responsibilities. Number 2, make an annual financial contribution. Well, that's almost like having to pay to get your seat on that board. I didn't think that any type of annual contributions were required for any of our boards, committees, or commissions. So I'd like to have that clarified, along with some of these other things here, where on the next page, number 3, it says, agree to attend 3 to 5 events each year. You might only have 3 events during the course of a year, and you're out of town or have a family matter to attend to, and then you've not fulfilled your agreement here. I just see that as a potential loophole to get rid of somebody if they don't want them there, or a loophole to overlook it and say, well, that's okay if they do want you there. And then I'd like to know why it says agree to attend at least 1 city council meeting each year. I see it also says a county council meeting. I just don't know what benefit they achieve or they derive from attending those meetings. Maybe if it was attend a county council meeting when the budget's coming down or something, or participate in a citizens input at budget time. But I'd like to know what their purpose of that is. And then the last one, number 5, it says, agree to participate in at least 1 volunteer activity per year. Again, I think maybe if they attempt to participate versus make it a definitive agree, just seems like they're putting an awful lot of qualifications on individuals that I'm not so sure they can do if we're appointing people that are volunteers. If you're a volunteer and then you're all of a sudden being told to spend money for this and spend money for that, I'm not sure that that's what our intentions are. So those are my concerns on that one.
Okay, Mr. Malinowski, I can address some of those.
Okay, go ahead.
All of that language come directly off of their membership document that each committee member has to sign when they're placed on the board. It says that they have to make a financial contribution. They have to agree to go to 3 to 5 meetings, and they have to agree to go to city and county council meetings a certain amount of times. So that's directly off of their membership.
Okay, I would like somebody to weigh in, be it legal or the administration. It doesn't have to be today, but before we get too much further down the line, to find out if these are potential legal issues on forcing somebody to pay. It's kind of like you're paying to play here, paying to be a volunteer.
Mr. Malinowski.
Yes, sir.
Part of what leads to some of the confusion is that, for example, the Historic Columbia Foundation, they're not just only referring to the 2 appointees of county council, but it's mainly was designed primarily for their other board members that they have other than the representatives from Richland County that we don't appoint. They have members of the board that we don't appoint.
And I think we need to clarify that here, Mr. Livingston, that for council purposes, the appointees, we don't need all that then.
Right. We might need to make that. That's my point. We might need to make the distinction based on that, right?
Yeah. So let's not have that in there if it's not for the ones we appoint. Maybe you could find that out, Miss Only.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about over here on the Midlands Regional Convention Center Authority? And that's a city and a county one together. As you read through there and you go from page 75 to page 76, and again, maybe this is just their wording, but we have to live by the wording if we put it on our website and put it out there in any ads that we do in trying to recruit. Letter D, engage in all other lawful activities. I would think it goes without saying that we don't want you to engage in unlawful activities, and that just seems like sort of a foolish thing to put in there. But and then down below that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth sentence on the top of page 76 that starts payments and distributions for the purposes set forth above. No substantial part of the activities of the authority shall be carrying on of propaganda. I read that to mean that means there's a small part that can be propaganda in there. So we need to find out what they're referring to here. You can propagandize as long as it's not substantial, I guess. And I can hold any other things and just share them with you, Miss Only, if you want to then get to these particular groups or give me their contact information. I'll go directly to them on my own is fine also.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any comments on any of these groups where they've got it here?
So, Mr. Malinowski.
Yes, Mr.
I don't have question or comments specifically to one organization over the other, but I think to your comments that and your concerns that you are addressing, it goes back to the statement that I made earlier, the importance of uniformity. And so I can't imagine that there is a difference between a county appointee and a city appointee with regards to qualifications, or even, I'll use it very loosely, obligations. And so if and it is going to be some work on our behalf, but we may need to streamline this process of the information and make sure that there's consistency and continuity. Because when I read these, it was, from A to double Z with what they were asking for. And in essence, in some of these organizations I'm very familiar with, and I'm thinking this is just stuff that you're putting on the paper and definitely not what's being implemented. And so I think that we want to go back to page 1 with putting down what is being implemented, what is the basic requirement of a board member. Give or get $1,500 to be a part of an organization. That is a preference. Is it a policy? And I think that we've gotten, it's very off kiltered. So we may want to bring this back in a little bit closer and create some uniformity. This is the information. This is what the expectation is of these boards, of these commissions, and maybe even some do's and don'ts. Because to pay to play is a little. I don't know, and I've been on some boards where that was the case, and I don't want somebody to tell me what to do with my money. I think that we've gotten a little bit far off. So I'm not going to beat this dead horse, but I think this is a prime example why we need to really put a uniform system in place.
And that's why I just threw some of these out as things that were kind of glaring to me that I thought we need to look into. Maybe we can just get together down at the county building and have a little work session or something on this. I think it may work better than just this way, looking at each other on a screen.
Let's keep in mind now, it's not going to be possible for us to just completely streamline these. Remember now, these are not our boards and agencies for the most part. A couple of them are, but these are boards and commissions of different groups and organizations who set their own particular guidelines to what they want them to be. So because they invite us to have membership, doesn't mean we get to govern how their boards are structured. We can give them feedback and so forth. It's a little different from stuff we own like a township, that kind of thing. But I'm talking about these other boards and commissions. All we could say is, to folks who we appoint is, here's the criteria for this particular agency. Not our criteria, but the criteria for the agency that we're appointing you to.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Livingston. Because I was looking at it that as somebody reads the criteria, that they're believing that this criteria is something that's been approved by Richland County.
Right, we need to say this is based on the agency, not Richland County. Yeah, we need to make that distinction because it's not
Okay.
these are not our policies that relate to board membership.
Okay, then we need to make that understood for all the people that read this.
And I think if there's something that we don't necessarily agree with, we need to give our opinion on, our question about it,
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Anything else while we're on this part of it here? If not, the other item for action is the continuation of the rules and recommended changes to streamline the rules to improve functioning of council business. That's 5B. We can start with that one. Has anybody looked at the potential changes and new rules that have been provided to us? And if you have any comments, because.
So,
Go ahead, Ms. Maggie.
sorry, no, I've looked at it, but just for, I guess, historical knowledge, was there a particular reason that this was brought up? Is it just we felt like it needed to be updated because it's out of date, or was there a need for this right now?
Well, it started quite a while ago. It did need to be updated. Some of it was out of date. Some of the rules, maybe they were being done historically one way or another, but they weren't written down as to how things should be done or shouldn't be done. And so we're trying to get some uniformity, continuity in the rules that we follow on council, so that when we're having a public meeting, all of a sudden somebody doesn't ask a question or challenge something and the legal department, our person that's representing legal says, well, I don't know, you don't have that in your rules. And then they say, but according to well, this is the way it's supposed to be. So we want to have as much clarity in what we do and follow when we have meetings and in setting up our meetings. So that's what it is. So I'm looking at the latest version here, which was redlined. The draft was prepared February 8th of 2021. I believe that's the most recent one that was provided to us. And if you want, I'll throw out some things that I had. Anybody or somebody else wants to go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I guess looking at 1.2, can you, I don't know, give me some reasoning about why we take out Robert's Rules of Order? Are we saying that we don't want to follow that?
No, that's one. That is one. If you read the little note off to the side, what they're doing is I made the recommendation that we put a date in there, because there could be a Robert's Rules of Order. The way it was worded before, it just said shall be guided by Robert's Rules of Order. But there are updates that come about to that particular book. Yeah. And so initially they said shall be guided by such rules as set forth in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order. And I said, well, do we know? Will everybody know what the most recent edition is? And I said, I think we need to put a date in there so that if anybody does have a question or wants to challenge it, they know exactly which one we're following. They know the one that we're following, and they may say that isn't the most recent one.
Okay. So then will we have to update this every time a new edition comes out with the actual date?
That was the intent. I don't know, Ms. McLean, how often you got any idea how often updates come out for that? I wouldn't think it'd be that often.
No, it's not that often. I think we're probably on what, maybe the 10th or 11th edition now, and the thing's been out since maybe early 1900 or something.
Yeah,
So
it's been
it's
out
not
over
often.
100 years, right? So,
Okay.
so it wouldn't be that much of a change in there. So
Okay.
that's the purpose for that one.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another one, just
Go ahead.
following that one, 1.3.
Okay.
And so it talks about excessive cost. Who's defining what excessive is? I think that's kind of vague.
Okay, that's good. Then that's what we need to get out here. We need some definition or terminology that will stipulate what constitutes excessive. I mean, y'all go to Starbucks and pay $5 or $6 for a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee at all, so I think that's excessive. Okay, I get a pound of coffee for that. But that's good. That's a good point, Ms. Barron. So, Ms. McLean, maybe you could work on some type of terminology that would define excessive for us.
I can do that, or, we can give that duty to the chair or somebody to decide what's excessive for that time. However you want to do that, but I'll check with Brad. This looks like language that was added in, so I'm gonna see why somebody added in excessive cost. It looks like we actually added it, so I'll check in there. But yeah, I'll give you something on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we need to find out if he put it in there, who was complaining about excessive costs, I guess. Next.
And I just want to go back to excessive cost. It's needed. I think it's needed. It's definitely needed. Because we want to be good stewards of the budget. But as you stated, who's defining it? It's got to be in the eyes. And if to Ms. McLean, if it's something as deemed by the current council, some type of language like that. But definitely not leaving it wide open.
Yeah, I agree with you. Since we're going down there on 1.4, it says executive sessions. If that's all it has, other than way down there, it tells that in accordance with this South Carolina FOIA, they may hold a meeting closed to the public for any of the purposes set forth in this code and section pursuant to this 30-4-70. It says, before going into executive session, council shall vote in public on the question, and when the vote is favorable, the chair or presiding officer shall announce the specific purpose of the executive session. But over on page 8, under the new number 6, and it's underlined and boldened, it says agenda shall state the reason for executive session. So it says it there, and it says it in the previous place. Is that the same thing? Are we saying the same thing here? Because over here it's saying the agenda should have it. So does the chair need to repeat it if it's on the agenda?
Yes, the chair needs to
The
repeat
number
it.
do, yeah, try to, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So with that, would we not want to keep that language consistent from 1.4 to where we went just a moment ago on page, what was that, page 8?
Page 8 under number 6, number 6.
So would we not want to have that same?
And that's what I'm
consistent?
thinking, that we need to put that entire description over here in number 6 for consistency's sake.
I would agree with you.
Okay, so Ms. Only, if you can make sure we get all the first language into the second portion, please. I have a question on page 5, the very bottom, where it says electronic participation. I'd like to know why we have crossed out as present for any council member participation electronically shall not be allowed to participate in executive session matters. That used to be the rule, and I'm wondering why we are changing that now.
Where are you, Mr. Malinowski, again? I'm sorry.
Well, it's going to be rule 1.5 B as in Bravo, special meetings, but down at the bottom of that, the second paragraph of that says electronic participation.
Right, I got you.
We have struck through that the participation electronically shall not be allowed in executive session. And I'm wondering why
Mr.
we've
Malinowski,
done that.
may I speak?
Yeah.
My guess is, and again, I'll check on this. My guess is that this was before we were doing everything via Zoom. Okay. So when we started this electronic participation language, it had to do with an instance where people were actually just calling in by telephone. We could not at that time guarantee where the person was, what they were doing, or put them in a room by themselves to make sure the executive session was actually private. Maybe, and again, this is a maybe, we've taken it out because we have a little more control over that with our Zoom calls and sessions. Again, that's a guess, and I will check.
No, that is why that was that. See,
that's right. That's why it was there. But I still don't think we have total control, because like today, let's say, I know Mr. Ratio is on a computer or on a phone. People call into these meetings on the telephone. So we still don't have control of that.
It's true. It isn't a perfect situation.
So I would think if somebody calls in on a telephone, I'm not referring to the Zoom meetings we have where we put people in a separate room, but I'm saying I think we should keep it for the sake of if you're calling in on a telephone, then you should not be allowed to participate in executive sessions. I mean, we apparently already had a problem about one council member using a phone in there, putting it on so that a person on the other end could hear what was taking place. We don't need that again.
Mr. Malinowski,
Yes, Mr. Ratio.
I will just state for the record that I'm in my childhood bedroom calling in.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
There's nobody else in here who could hear
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
But to that point, sir, it is, even with Zoom, and we might be splitting hairs here, but even with Zoom, even though we all are on we're on a device here, who's to say that there aren't other people in the room with you? And so there is a level of integrity that we have to maintain. But I too, I'm not home. I'm currently not home. I'm in a room by myself.
Yeah.
But we hear feedback often. We're not, this is one of those issues that I don't know that if it's necessarily needed at this point. And I understand the point of, what's happened in the past and how we need to cover ourselves and make sure that we're doing this. But it is one of those things where who knows, even though in the world of Zoom.
Right. What about the fact that, and y'all haven't been there for live meetings yet, but when we go into executive session, into the back room, or some of us used to refer to it sometimes as the secret room behind our chairs, what about the fact, should electronic devices, should telephones and laptops be allowed in there? Or should they not be? I mean, my thoughts for security purposes would be no. Why do you need a telephone back there? We're to discuss business. We're going to be there anywhere from 5 minutes, maybe to an hour or so, but we're discussing the business that we're going back there for. We're not there to take telephones or make calls. I would think if an emergency arises, the clerk could be notified of it and come back and get somebody.
When you go into executive session when you were in person.
Right.
When you went back there, I mean, is Attorney McLean or is the attorney bringing the information you need to review? So like if
Yes.
there's something we need to look at, somebody will have a printed copy. So at least I
Yes.
can.
Whatever the purpose we go into executive session for, the individual who has the authority to present that info and provide it to us will bring it back there and provide it to us there.
Okay.
The questions are asked about it as well, just like we do here. So,
Yeah.
you know, for those reasons, I personally would like to see that, you know, hey, there's no electronic devices allowed during executive session.
I think that's fine as long as they have enough copies of the documents we need to review, right? Where I don't have to pull it up. I don't have to pull it up on my computer.
Right now, they always have hard copies to hand to everybody.
Or they may have a display that they use the technology that's in the room.
Yeah, or they do it that way.
Yeah.
There's a big screen there and they put it on there.
I'm fine with that because I know that if I don't have that copy, I am going to refer back to my laptop or my iPad just so I can have. But if staff is going to have what we need, then no electronic devices should be welcome in that room.
Okay, Ms. Only, if you could please add that to that electronic participation portion, or another letter maybe in there under electronic participation, no electronic devices during live meetings at council. And that I think also here's where we can put down that we need to make sure that the presenters of information have enough copies of information to provide to all members of council during executive session.
Mr. Malinowski?
Yes, Mr. McLean.
What was your final decision on electronic participation, and you want that back in the struck portion?
I'd say we want it back in because we're now agreeing on the committee that we want to add no electronic devices in executive session. Therefore, that would eliminate a person calling in to be in there also.
All right.
And as was the case before, the fact you did not participate because you were calling in, you also had the opportunity, you did not have to vote on a matter either.
Right.
Okay, down on the
Mr.
Mr.
Malinowski,
yes.
Ms. Teratio has her hand up.
Oh, it's a different color. You fooled me. I keep looking for that dark one. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ratio. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Yes, so, you know, I am very attached to my phone. If we are to not bring our phones back into the secret room, you know, I don't know if this needs to be written into the rules or not, but I don't think that I would like for my phone to be left unattended, just sort of out there in the chambers. Some people have, like, you know, boxes that they put their phones, you know, I've seen things like that happen. So we may have to have some kind of, if we go down that path, we may have to have some kind of practical measure in which to make sure that people's devices are secure.
Or making sure
Kind
that
of like the old West, check your guns at the door.
Well, I mean, I've been to concerts where they have like these bags that you put it, you know, like you slide them into these pockets, and it, you know, you're not supposed to take them back out or something. So, I mean, there's ways to do this.
Okay, and that's fine then.
One concern I have too now, and keep in mind, sometimes we say executive session an awful long period of time, and I just hate for someone to have emergency calls and can't get hold to them. So we need to make sure there's a number for someone to call in case of an emergency for council members, since you want to have access to a phone. But sometimes you may be in executive session 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay. So we need to put that in there, an emergency number. that someone could call, and we all just need to make individuals aware of what that number is. Whether the clerk has it out there at the desk where they are, or if there's, I mean, we used to have, I think we used to, I recall, we used to have a phone, Mr. Livingston, back there. We don't even have a phone back there anymore. Used to have a Xerox machine back there. We don't have that either, but that's another story.
Just one other note, we, at 5 o'clock, we have an economic development committee meeting of the whole to go over the strategic plan for economic development. So just want to remind you that, because that's a call for everybody.
Right, and that's about 5 minutes away. And I already told Miss Only, I have a long distance phone meeting set up at 5, which was done prior to this meeting being announced. So I'm going to do that one. I don't know how long it'll take. And then if you're still in business here, I'll come back to it. So
right, we'll catch you up somehow.
okay, the fact that it's 4:55, let's give people a chance we'll come out of this meeting and get to the 5 o'clock one. And we'll just have to continue with our rules the next time, Miss Only, if you'll put that on the agenda keep it on there as an action item, please. Based
Yes, sir.
on that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to adjourn. No discussion. Ms. Only, if you'll call for the vote, please.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Baird,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.